I'm going to break you into 6 groups based just sort of on where you're sitting. Within your groups, go over the section of the syllabus that I've indicated up here. I'll zoom out on this in case you don't have this page. And then after 5 minutes or so, you should designate a spokesperson for your group, and we'll go around all of the groups, and the spokesperson from that group will share with the class what you think the most important parts of that are. Okay? The key things that should be said out loud. Of course, this is a college course, everybody's expected to read and understand the entire syllabus. Okay? But within your groups, just what are the things that need to be highlighted to make sure that everybody hears out loud today. Okay? Little more interesting way of doing a syllabus than just having me drone on about it all day today. Okay? So this is going to work out just great with our chairs because you're going to turn around and face that way, and you're going to do number 1. Okay? You 3 are going to turn around and go that way, and you'll be 2. Okay? Turn around and go that way, 3. Okay? Turn around, sit that way, 4. Seeing the pattern, right? Turn around, face that way, 5. You 3 turn around, face them, look at number 6. Okay? So start by introducing yourself. Just go around really quickly, say what your name is, if you got a major or something. And then here are the sections of the syllabus. So go through your section, maybe make some notes, figure out what the most important things are from that section to share. So, introduce yourselves. Just say your names. Name and major, maybe. Cool. Okay. Everybody know what section you're supposed to be looking at? Oh.
More safe to write before the pre-lab, pretty much.
Just a couple more minutes. Remember, just pick out a small handful of things that you think should be highlighted for the rest of the class.
Since there's 6 groups and we're supposed to do like since
Yep.
5,
Yep.
just do 5.
Yep, just do your own number, and then we'll go around. Yep. Yep. If you think you got the small handful of important things, figure out who is going to be the spokesperson. Is about ready? You have a spokesperson? Yep. Okay, cool. You have a spokesperson? Not it. Not it. Not it. You guys have a spokesperson? Okay, cool. All right, about ready? Cool. Yes. Oh, we'll talk about that, just not a graphing calculator for the final exam. You can use a graphing calculator whenever else, but the final exam has to be non-graphing. Yep. That's how it goes. Okay, about ready over here? Okay. All right. You guys have a spokesperson? Cool. Okay. All right. I think we are ready. Let's start. Assuming we've all figured out which section we're talking about now, let's start with required and optional materials. Spokesperson, group number 1. Go.
So we just had a handful of things.
Yeah.
But other than the obvious ones, you should really have a bound notebook or a lab written lab.
Okay.
Now is that graph paper, Andy?
Well, it could be. I've found those pretty useful. It doesn't have to be. Does anybody have a bound lab notebook with you right now? Just to hold up to know what we're talking about. So it should not be spiral bound, if at all possible. It should be bound like this, with actual pages solidly within their binding. The problem with a spiral bound notebook, you can use that for some other class or something, is that you're going to be flipping back and forth a whole lot in these notebooks, and the pages tend to wear out and come out in a spiral notebook. So, usually they're 3/4 size. Sometimes they're called composition books. Okay? So make sure you have one of those. Not going to need it this week probably, but by next week, definitely. And whether you want it lined or grid or whatever, that's up to your own preference. But definitely have a notebook, one of those smallish bound laboratory notebooks for next week. Okay?
So that was a pretty important note.
Yep.
Also, definitely look at the lab activities found at the link there. You need to read those and check those down. Before you come to lab. And then it says optional, but I feel like if you want to kind of do well in the class, you can definitely look at the study guide and web savings as well.
Yeah, that's good advice. Let's also talk about calculator. A couple of you saw that. A non-programmable calculator is maybe a calculator that looks like this, or a calculator that looks like this. Okay. A programmable calculator is a calculator that looks like this. Now, you can feel free to use a graphing calculator really throughout the whole course and through exams and all that stuff. The place where the regulation comes from is in the final exam, because it's a standardized final exam written by the American Chemical Society. And in order for the scores to be right and standardized properly, it needs to be one of these kind of calculators. Okay? So honestly, if I were you, I would get used to using one of these so that it's not a surprise on the final exam using it. But personally, I'm totally, you can use obviously whatever you want in the homework and stuff. On regular exams, a calculator like this is totally fine. Okay? But the final exam, it has to be a non-programmable graphing calculator. And honestly, my favorite is this one, TI-30X IIS. It's a very popular one. You can get it for about $12, I think, usually at Walmart or something like that. Okay. I got through several years of graduate school doing advanced quantum mechanics using a calculator exactly like this, so it's not a problem using that. Has all the same input syntax and everything. If you're used to a graphing calculator, all your input gets typed in the same way on one like that. So I would highly recommend that. Whatever it is, though, bring your calculator every day to class. Okay? Bring it every day to lab. Never, ever, ever be without a calculator. We're going to be doing lots of math and lots of problems and working together. Okay? As you're going to learn, this lecture especially, this is not a place to sit back and relax and let the information flow into you. That's not how we do it here. Okay? This is work time. You're going to be working with each other and doing problems and practicing in groups and individually and so on. So, okay. Any questions about any of the stuff in that part?
In the bookstore, you had the optional solutions book.
Oh, yeah.
What is that going to do for you?
So I've assigned practice problems at the end of each chapter just for you to do as additional practice. And the ones I've assigned have brief answers in the back of the book itself. Okay? So for a lot of students, just using that to check to make sure you're on the right track, that's going to be okay. Okay? If you're finding that you either want to do more of those problems and see answers to all of them, I think it's either the odds or the evens that it doesn't have the answers to in the back of the book. Okay? The solutions manual, I think, has additional ones. Plus, the solutions manual has all the work shown. Okay? So it's not about just looking at and seeing that's how it's done. Okay? It's about sitting there practicing, trying it, and if you get stuck, go to the solutions manual to see if there's something major that you missed. So if you haven't gotten it yet, try going through at least chapter 1, chapter 2, those practice problems. See if the back of the book works for you or not, and if you need more, you can just grab it at the bookstore. I don't think it's too expensive anyway. Okay. Other questions about required and optional? Is that good? All right. Great. Group 2 spokesperson, what do you have to say about academic civility?
Be respectful, so be respectful to your instructor and then your classmates. Make sure like your phone's away so you're not distracted the whole classroom. Be responsible for all your coursework, so make sure you're kind of working on your problems in the book, doing mastery in chemistry. And then rise to the challenge, so that's just meaning that this is college level, so you have to think more fast.
That's how it works. This little passage of the syllabus was something I got a long time ago. That's something that several of the faculty here at Cambridge came up with as something to put in our syllabus, just as a reminder at the start of each semester about how we can all get the most out of our experience here. Okay? So somebody's paying a good amount of money for you to be here, okay? Whether it's you or whether it's a loan or whether it's someone else. So to get your money's worth, coming to class is probably the best way to get your money's worth out of this experience. Okay? But then taking responsibility for your own success in here is going to be the key to any kind of college experience that you're having. Okay? No matter how fantastic the instructor like me, of course, obviously is, that doesn't matter if you're just kind of sitting there doing nothing. Okay? As wonderful or whatever as the in-class experience is, most of your learning is going to happen on your own. Okay? When you're doing the homework, when you're practicing, when you're studying, and that's your responsibility as a college student. Okay? And if you're having any trouble with any of that, I'm here to help. I've got lots of office hours and plenty of other times. Okay? There's an academic support center, I think, that I'll probably have somebody from the Academic Support Center come visit here next week to talk about that. But there are peer tutors, students that have taken this class and that have done well. Okay? And you can go and sit with them. They'll help you work through problems. Okay? So we'll talk about that. But in case you're interested, it's by the main entrance, okay, way over on that side of the building, just to the left. Okay? You just walk right in and say you need some help with chemistry, and there'll be people there that can help. So, and that whole rise to the challenge thing comes from the fact that there's been a lot of educational research done, right? There's entire fields of science involving how adults learn. And it's actually very well known, the processes that have to happen for learning. It has to have active engagement on your part. It has to be you practicing. It has to have some kind of struggle on your part in order for those connections to actually get wired right. Okay? And some students sort of shy away from struggles, or they kind of avoid things that are difficult. But if you really want to learn and if you really want to get good at something, you plow headlong into the things that are difficult for you. And you work through them and you fail and fail and fail until you can get it. Okay? And obviously, the best time to be failing is when you're on your own, doing your homework, trying something that doesn't work, trying something that doesn't work, until finally you figure out a way that works for you to figure out how to do it. Okay? Because then you'll be well prepared for doing that sort of stuff on quizzes and exams in class. Okay? So I could talk for an entire hour about that sort of stuff, and you're welcome to come and visit me in my office hours if you need help studying. For some of you, this may be the first actual difficult course that you've taken. Okay? For some of you, this will be one in a long line of difficult courses that you've taken. So there are various mental states and various abilities and various strengths that everybody has. So it's up to you to figure out what works for you and to figure out a way of studying and a way of practicing that helps you be successful. And we're all here to help. I'm here to help, but ultimately that's your responsibility. Okay? So I've already rambled a little too much about that, but I think that's important. So, alrighty, lab. What do you got to say about lab?
Okay, so laboratory attendance is mandatory, and so it's pretty much just show up, and if you can't be there, there are some exceptions to make, but just try and show up,
okay,
because that's just the easiest way to do it. There are lab reports that are due right away on the lab days, and so you have to do those. And those are late, there's a whole bunch of complications there too. So just try and do your stuff on time is kind of the key thing I'm getting from here. Just make your life more.
Yeah.
And let's see, there are lab quizzes that are thrown in there every once in a while. And at the end of the year or end of the semester, there's a big laboratory project based on what goes on during lab.
Yep. So during lab, you will either have lab today, this afternoon, or Wednesday morning. Okay? There are 2 lab sections, and we do the same thing there. So we'll talk about the specifics about what's due when and so on. Okay? There are going to be a lot of various things due at different times. You'll have some things due at the very beginning of lab. Sometimes you'll have assignments due a week later, and so on. But we'll make that all perfectly clear to you, and it'll always be in the announcements and the course calendar and all that stuff. Probably if you're interested in failing in here, probably the easiest and most efficient way to fail a class like this is to start missing labs. So don't get behind with that sort of stuff. If it's an emergency, we could possibly reschedule you to the other lab section. If you're in the Monday section, you could come to the Wednesday section, or sometimes it's inverted, where the Wednesday does an experiment and then the Monday after does it. So there are times when you could come into the other lab section, and you can check the schedule to see if that would even work. But that has to be with my approval ahead of time for that to happen. We do drop the one lowest lab score at the end of the semester, so that's for flat tires and projectile vomiting and things like that where you're better off not coming to lab. That sort of stuff happens, so that's what the one dropped lab is for. But beyond maybe being able to arrange a different lab section with me, or having that be your dropped lab, that's about it for rescheduling labs or anything like that. So you got to come to lab on your scheduled time, and you got to do the experiments, and you got to hand the assignments in on time, and that's pretty much it. So, all right. Up here, homework quizzes, discussion boards.
Alrighty. For homework, all the required homework that you'll be graded on will be in the Mastering Chemistry online section. All the book questions are recommended to do, so you gain as much of the information as you can, but they will not be graded or turned in. And each chapter of homework is worth 5 points. There's going to be 3 quizzes over the course of the semester. They're either going to be in-class, take-home, or online. They're not open book, and each quiz is worth 15 points. And the discussion, you are required to do 1 post per chapter in the D2L discussion board for credit. You're supposed to ask your questions there, and if somebody in the class can answer it, go ahead and answer it. If nobody answers it or nobody can answer it, go ahead and email Andy, and he'll get to you. And the discussion is worth 10 points overall on the final grade.
Yep. So it's not a huge amount of points. I mean, there will be 700 some points in the semester, so it's not a huge amount of points, but it can make the difference between borderline cases, right? A, B, B, C, C, D type stuff. It's really tough, but if someone's right on the border and I see they haven't done any discussions, I'm not going to have a whole lot of pity for anything else. So as you go into D2L, I'll just quickly, I won't totally demonstrate, but communications, discussions, right there. I haven't put mine yet in. One of the first things you could do, let's do this week. I'll make a little note of this. Go in the introduce yourself in the discussions and just say a little something about yourself. Okay? What's your background, or what are you thinking of doing, or something interesting, a hobby, or whatever, just so we can get to know each other a little bit better. The discussion posts what's your name?
Clayton.
That Clayton was talking about, the ones for credit happen here in the chemistry content discussions. And you're expected to do 1 per chapter on average. Okay? So maybe if you're really totally good on chapter 2, you could do 2 of them on chapter 3. Don't get more than plus or minus 1 chapter away, though. Okay? I'll probably average those in groups of 3 or something like that. Okay? So best to just keep up with it around the time you're working on the problems or the homework or something like that, if you got some questions or something's confusing, or if you found something useful that you think your classmates will appreciate, post it in there as well. Okay? I'll look at this a couple of times throughout the semester, and just so that you're not going to get full credit if you try to make all of your posts during finals week or something like that. Okay? But I don't have strict due dates on those otherwise. So if you're making an attempt to keep up with the material along when we're going through it, you will be totally fine on that. Okay? What this does, this has several benefits. It reduces my email volume a little bit, and not that I don't love hearing from everybody, but if I get the exact same question 20 times in my email, that's not efficient for anybody. So if you got questions about the chemistry, put it up in the discussion boards. I'm sure somebody else probably has that exact same question, and you can have a whole discussion about it right in there. A lot of times, someone will post something up there at 3 in the morning, and then maybe somebody else that's an early bird will post something about it at 5 in the morning or something like that, hours and hours before I would even be able to get to an email. So a lot of times that works well. So I'll be monitoring it pretty closely, at least the first month or so. Usually there's a point where it becomes self-sustaining, and I just sort of look through to make sure that nothing is wildly inaccurate. But use that as a resource to communicate with each other to help each other out. Okay? And that should be very beneficial to you. I want to just really quickly show you Mastering Chemistry, just because it was mentioned. I have a link to it, but you can just bookmark masteringchemistry.com. You need to get in there and register yourself. Okay? As a student, I think you would, here, let me make this a little smaller. You can see that a little better. There we go. Okay, so as a student, you would start there. Okay, and you need 3 things to get into Mastering Chemistry. Okay? If I were you, I would use your school email. Okay, so everything's going to the same place. Okay? You need a course ID. Take a look at page 9 of your syllabus. Mastering Chemistry course ID is right there a couple of times on page 9 of your syllabus. So looks like this. Okay. So you will need to type that in. Also within D2L here somewhere, I have right in our news here. Oops, wrong class. Right here. I have a link to Mastering Chemistry right here in news, and if you want, you could just copy and paste the course ID from right here. The most common problem students have with that is either misspelling aspos or typing a 1 as an L or something like that. And all that can be solved by copying and pasting the course ID from right there. So probably easiest to highlight, right-click, copy, and then when you're in Mastering Chemistry, you can paste that right in. So couple of things. The other thing that you need here is the access code. If you bought the textbook from the bookstore, there is an access code in a little shrink-wrapped thingy inside the cover. Okay? You might have to scratch something off. It came bundled with the, should be bundled with the text. Okay? Anybody have that? Is it in the back, maybe? Yeah, there it is. That's what it looks like, in the back. Okay? It's a little thing that you have to zip it open, and it's got a little card in there that you do. Okay? So if you got that, you're all set. You enter in your course ID. You retype that access code. Okay, you're all set. If you got your book used, or you got a book from somewhere else, or something like that, you will need to purchase Mastering Chemistry Access within the system here itself. Okay? I haven't looked at the prices. So you may want to go in there and double check the prices, especially if you're waiting on the book or something like that. Go in and double check the prices. If you're a techno type person, you could get an ebook from inside of Mastering Chemistry right there too. If you're at all interested in that, that would be the cheapest way to go too, because all you'd be paying for is really the access in the ebook. But so whatever works for you. You need to get Mastering Chemistry access with those three things. Once you are in, let me log in and I'll just quickly show you just what it looks like. But I won't. There we go. Give you a whole tour. There's usually a calendar there, and the assignments tab gives you a list of the current assignments. The one you should start working on right away is this intro assignment. Some of you, if you've taken a chemistry course here, if you're a familiar face to me, you already know how to get around Mastering Chemistry, so there's nothing new there. But if Mastering Chemistry is new to you, I would definitely take the time to go through this intro assignment, because this teaches you how to enter answers, how the system works. One quick thing that I will show you, on a lot of the questions in Mastering Chemistry, let's see here. There we go. There, it's loading. There we go. So sometimes there's an input toolbar like this that gives you access to symbols and things that you may need later. But what I really wanted to show you is this hints button right here on questions of the tutorial type. The hints in there will show you, here, let me just get onto this one here. It will give you a list of steps. Sometimes when you click to open, it just tells you something. But more often than not, when you click to open, it'll give you a series of little bite-sized questions, okay, to answer on the way there. And it starts out real simple, and it works you up to that point. Okay? So there is never any penalty for opening a hint. Okay? So if you don't know how to do something, it is always to your advantage to go through those hints, because it'll sort of walk you all the way through the process. Okay? The only penalty is if you open a hint and don't do the questions. Okay? So once you open a hint, you have to go through and do what it asks you to do. Okay? Okay. So definitely take advantage of those hints. Not enough students, I think, go through and use those hints. There's no penalty for that. You get a tiny little bonus if you do a question without using the hints, but only do that if you totally know how to do a question. Okay? There are probably some that you might be totally good with, and you can just do it and enter a question. You'll get a little bonus, like 1% or something like that. Okay? But if you have any kind of question about it, or if you go through and you enter it once and it's not right, definitely go through the hints. I believe we have this set up to do 6 attempts per blank. Okay? The way Mastering Chemistry works, your score gets chipped away. It goes down just a little bit for that question each time you do an attempt wrong. Okay? But it's all per blank in Mastering Chemistry. Anytime you hit that submit under a blank, that's gone into the system, and there's no extra saving or extra submitting or anything. So you can close out of it and open it and close and open it and whatever. There are no time limits, nothing. There's just a due date. Okay? So get in Mastering Chemistry. Try out this intro assignment. In this intro assignment, I think you will not be penalized for using hints or submitting incorrect answers even for this. So go through, try putting in blatantly wrong answers, see how it reacts. Okay? It'll usually tell you incorrect, 5 attempts remaining. And if it's a certain kind of incorrect answer, it may even tell you that you rounded wrong or you multiplied instead of divided. Okay? There's some things that it gives you specific feedback on too. Okay? So, but on this intro assignment, go through, try to mess it all up and go through just so you get a good idea of how the system behaves. Okay? If you make at least one attempt on all of these portions, you'll get full credit for the intro assignment. Okay? So, do that though. Try to get logged in this week right away. I'm going to be watching Mastering Chemistry, and I'll come and talk to you probably on Monday next week if I haven't seen you've gotten logged in. Okay? This intro assignment's due at the end of next week. Okay? So you have some time, but get that intro assignment out of the way so that you can actually start working on the Chapter 1 assignment as we're getting to that material. Okay? All right. We better keep moving here. Access, so what was that called? Course ID? Okay, so make sure to at least write that down, that the course ID is on syllabus page 9. Okay, that is one of the most frequently asked questions I get in the first week of class, even though I've got it on the main page of D2L right there, and we've talked about it right there on page 9. So that's where it is. Okay. I'll say and in D2L. There. Okay. All right. Let's keep moving. Let's go to here, exams. 5.
There are 3 75-minute midterms throughout the course, and each of these is a big part of the grade. Also, there's a 110-minute final, and at the end of the term, the lowest midterm grade will be replaced by your final grade if it's better. And if you're going to miss one of the exams, make sure you have like a documented document, I guess,
yep,
to prove why you're gone, and also to make sure that you can have a makeup test for it.
Yep. So your final exam replaces your one lowest midterm exam, assuming the final exam was better than at least one of your 3 midterms. If your final exam happened to be worse than all the other ones, then everything is still worth its points, but nothing gets replaced. Okay? So if you know you're going to have to miss an exam, let me know as soon as possible. We'll work it out. If it's an emergency type thing, let me know as soon as you can, and I'll work with you, and we'll try to get something figured out. Okay. What did you guys back there think about the studying?
So do not procrastinate until the last second. Spend more time studying over periods of time to refresh your memory better. Read the textbook chapters to refresh all the little information that you may have missed. Work your assigned practice problems and try them over again instead of reading your answers. And form study groups for additional help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty standard. I think I mentioned before that the majority of your learning in here will happen on your own. Okay? Even excellent students cannot expect to just come to class and do the stuff in class and then expect to do well on an exam. Okay? It's going to take significant practice on your own. It's going to probably take a good amount of practice, even more than just doing the Mastering Chemistry, doing those homework assignments. Okay? So you can come and talk to me, and there's lots of different ways of studying. You know, you can make up your own review sheets for types of things. That works really well for a lot of students. You can try to anticipate what exam questions are going to be and stuff like that. So we'll talk a little bit more about how the exams are laid out and stuff like that as we're going along. But in the meantime, you know, be reading the textbook, be doing practice problems. Do those Mastering Chemistry as soon as you can, and as soon as you around when we're studying that material, at least to get some try at it. And especially if it's something computer related, if you're saving it to the last minute, counting down the minutes until the due date, that's when your power is going to go out or your computer is going to crash or something like that. It happens all the time. So plan ahead. definitely be, set aside a certain amount of time each day, if possible, for studying and working on homework and stuff like that. That is always the best way of doing time management in a class like this. Alrighty. So, like I said, read through the syllabus, read through the whole thing very carefully. As a college course, you're responsible for what's in the syllabus. Okay? That's sort of like a legal document about what this class is, so you're responsible for that. What I'd like us to do now, and if you, as you're reading through it, you have other questions, definitely send me an email or come and visit me if it's something that has to do just with you. Okay? Don't be afraid of sending me emails. That wasn't the point of talking about the discussions like that. If it's something that has to do especially with you, send me an email. I'll get back to you right away. That's not a problem. Or come and visit. Alrighty.